I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast presented by FanDuel. In today's episode, what we'll be discussing is the Detroit Pistons versus the Miami Heat Summer League game that did just conclude about 2 hours or so ago. Want to kind of go over the game, some quarter notes that I took, and just an overall recap of this Summer League game with the players like Chaz Lanier, Ebuka Okorie, Ugonna Onyenso, and some others. So let's get into it. Let's start with the first quarter. Some notes that I did take down for the Pistons. Phoenix just got out to a really early run. And when you look at Phoenix's Summer League team, I think they have one of the stronger teams that the Pistons have faced. Flemings looks excellent. I think he's going to have a really good season. Maluach, good Lord. That kid is just going to get better and better. Hell of a drafty pick from the Suns. And Koa Pete, too, as well. He was in this draft class with Ebuka Okorie and Ugonna Onyenso. So, I mean, they have a very strong Summer League team, but Phoenix was able to get out to a 10-0 run, and the Pistons looked very overwhelmed, I would say, with just Phoenix's size in the front court. 10-0 run, Pistons had to take a timeout. Felt like we were very reliant on threes because we were afraid to go into the paint because they were clogging it right away. And we have guys on the Summer League roster like Chaz Lanier, who's been one of the best three-point shooters in the Summer League. Brice Williams has had games. He had actually a pretty good game today. He's had games where, his three-point shot has helped the Pistons win a game against Cleveland, but they were very reliant early on, I would say, in the first quarter with the three. Brice Williams did get the Pistons going. He did hit a three, got to the free throw line. And after the Pistons saw a couple shots go in, the game kind of got within I don't want to say striking distance or within range. You actually put points on the board. Phoenix dropped 27 points in this one. You only dropped 13, but I thought the bench unit did a better job overall. Kind of getting stops, getting good looks offensively, and putting some points on the board. But the first quarter was really bad. They just got out to a really slow start, something that has kind of been a theme with this Summer League team overall. And I think just as Pistons fans, before we get into the second quarter notes, I think we can honestly agree this is probably one of the worst Summer League rosters I've seen the Pistons actually put together. And I don't think it's a hot take. I think this is a very bad constructed Summer League team. And you know what? That's okay, but it's going to be really difficult to beat a team like Phoenix if you're not making your perimeter shots and you're not overfouling. And at times we weren't making our perimeter shots and we fouled a lot in this game. I've never seen so many fouls called in a summer league game, especially when there was I don't even know, like a dispute between if it was a flagrant or technical. There was just so many coaches challenge in a summer league game, which I didn't really think was necessary. But let's get into the second quarter notes. That was just me rambling up how bad this roster actually is. So second quarter notes. Pistons benched, opened up the second with Drake Allen playing point guard because Ebuka Okorie was on the bench resting. So you had, 10-day exhibit, Drake Allen out there. I've liked his defense throughout the summer league. I'm probably going to get a training camp invite because he is on an exhibit 10. So he's a player that, could possibly compete for a two-way, even though the Pistons do have 3 two-ways. Roster doesn't mean that any of these exhibit 10s or any of these guys on the summer league roster can't possibly challenge to take one of those two-way spots away. Roddy Gayle actually played for the first time since the Cleveland game. He was dealing with an injury, so it was good to see him out in the game. After the bench unit was getting subbed out for the starters, Ebuka did have a couple of clean layups off glass, and he hit a three-pointer, a step-back three-pointer in the quarter. Chaz Lanier started heating up. In the first quarter, he just was not hitting shots whatsoever. He started heating up, got a couple of threes to fall in the second quarter. And Isaac Jones just completely took over in this second to really help the Pistons get back into this game. That's one thing about him that If you guys aren't too familiar with Isaac Jones in the G League, that's his strength. That's like one of his stronger calling cards is just scoring the basketball. Everything else is just kind of like, oh, why are you dribbling the ball like coast to coast? Uh, that was probably the worst close I've ever seen. But scoring is his strength, I would say, and he was a really big reason why the Pistons were able to get within range going into the second quarter. So it was 53-46 Suns, and the Pistons had a huge quarter, making it somewhat of a game. Coming out of halftime, Ebuka Okorie and the Pistons came out really aggressive. Ebuka got to the free throw line a few times, and they were able to actually get their first lead. Brice Williams was also very huge in this game overall. I think he had like over 24 points. I don't have the box score pulled up in front of me right now, but he was able to also pitch into the scoring department, was able to get their first lead. Pistons had a very short lead in this one for a short amount of time. Phoenix was able to regain the lead, and Maluach just took over the game for them. It was almost like a 3-point shootout with him and Chaz. He hit like back-to-back threes, and he was just a bully on the boards, put back dunks, you name it. He was just all around the glass, just cleaning it up, and he's going to be a really good center for a really long time. But I'm very impressed with him. Like, even though this is a Pistons podcast, I could still appreciate another player. That's like an archetype of center. I think is just so valuable. Someone that can hit threes, clean up the glass, lob threat. Like, he's just kind of the archetype of like what you want your centers to be now. And I think Phoenix does have a good one, but Phoenix was able to regain the lead after the Pistons did have a short one. So to end the third, they were only up 78-74. To start the fourth, we actually saw Ugonna Onyenso get in the scoring department. First 3 quarters, he was scoreless. He did not score a point. He made a 3, which second 3 of the summer league, and I wish he would be a little bit more confident in it because I think there have been opportunities for him to actually shoot it. There's been pump fakes throughout the summer league where he's not sure if he should shoot it, pass it, set a screen, which that's completely okay. It's a summer league. You're a two-way contract player. You're still trying to figure out the game at an NBA speed versus a college speed. But it was encouraging to see him just let it fly. And then, next possession or 2 possessions later, he gets really great, post position, hits a little baby hook, and that was it. He had his 5 points there, and I'd like to see him score a little bit more. I think for him, where he needs to get better, and I think this will be a development year for him, is screens for sure, setting his screens a little bit more, being a little bit more um, laterally quick when he's defending in the post because I think he can get put out of position very early, especially if you have a mobile big that can stretch the floor or a mobile big that can, stretch out to 15 feet. I think that's something that, excuse me, he does need to work on. But overall, with him, I think it's just going to be a very big development project. And that's okay because I didn't really have him in my depth chart, even as a third string, because I think that's where Tolu Smith is going to slide in. But Ugonna did have, some moments in the fourth that did want to kind of write down and talk about with you guys for a minute or so. Ebuka did make some, nice shots at the rim, but he had another really poor shooting night. He's just had a really tough time finishing at the rim these past 3 games. I know he had the first summer league game, and a lot of us were like, "Oh wow, like this kid's gonna be the backup point guard and stuff like that." But I still think a lot of people take so much stock, and I know sometimes I do fall victim of this as well. Is we get so high and low on summer league games with the players that our teams draft. And yes, Ibuka has had 3 horrendous nights shooting, but I think if he actually played with legitimate NBA players, he'll be okay. He's gonna be okay. Yeah, the shooting nights are tough. They are very tough. We'll go over the box score in a little bit, but Pistons do lose this one 100-88. Um, but I think he'll be okay. Same with Ugonna. I think Ugonna is gonna be okay as well. I for him, I just think it's going to be more development. Chaz has been really good, but it's going to be hard for him to scratch rotational minutes just because of the shooting guard room. It's so deep, deepest room I think we do have. I think we can all agree there as Pistons fans, like they have a very deep shooting guard room. But let's go over to the box score real quick. So as you guys can see, Brice Williams led the Pistons in points with 24. Shot a good percentage, 7 out of 13 from the field, 6 out of 3 from three. That's what he's going to do. I mean, that's what Brice Williams does. That's what he did in the G League. He's a bucket getter. Like, you need a bucket, give it to Brice. Like, that's what he does. Like, it's kind of like what I already expected out of Brice. Just hasn't had an opportunity to do it at the NBA level, but would not surprise me if you do see him on the preseason roster and the training camp roster as well. Isaac Jones, 6 out of 14 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. He had 18 points. I know I mentioned, also had 10 rebounds, a couple blocks, a couple steals, that he's really good at scoring. But he, to me, and I don't mean to pick on the G League players, but it's very clear to me because I've covered the G League before. You guys know that. I used to work for a production company that covers the Motor City Cruise games. So I was able to watch a lot of G League games over a 2-year time span. It's very clear to me that Isaac Jones can score the basketball, but I think it's just at a G League level. I don't really see him being able to get away with what he's getting away with right now at the NBA level. And, some guys are just like really good G League players. And once they get an opportunity in the NBA, they're just not good NBA players. I think that's what Isaac Jones is. It might sound mean. It might sound harsh. You're probably saying, no, you're over analyzing. It's summer league. Like he could be a backup power forward. I just don't see it. Like watching him, it's just a very tough watch. I mean, 6 out of 14 from the field. There was just so many possessions throughout the summer league so far where he's just dribbling the ball like 3/4 court and it's a turnover. It's just a tough watch for me with Isaac Jones. Like, yes, he's on the summer league team. He's one of the older players on this roster. I think he just had a birthday too. I think he's 26 now. Like, I think his ceiling is a G League player, and he's a two-way right now. I mean, there could be a conversation about one of these other players possibly knocking on the door for a two-way because I don't really think him scoring in the summer league is going to translate into real NBA rotational minutes. That's just my opinion on it. I'm just not particularly high on Isaac Jones. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he is, but it's a really tough watch. Ugonna Onyenso, 14 minutes, shot 2 out of 5 from the field, 40% from the field, 1 for 2 from 3. 5 points. You'll take it with him. You will. Like, this is clearly a development project that I think the summer league coach is also kind of understanding that, like, got to keep his minutes low because he's still conditioning at the NBA level. That's why Stephen Krall has actually gotten a little bit more minutes over the past couple of games. So, I mean, with you just kind of take things in stride, and I believe he's going to be a very big contributor for the Motor City Cruise this year. I think I'll kind of take that Tolu Smith role this year of getting starts, getting development under Jamel McMillan and all the assistant coaches down there. And I trust their work. I trust them to get him into at least rotational center at some point of his career. He's a two-way, so there's that. Had a okay game. Chaz Lanier, 30 minutes. Didn't shoot the best from the field, 4 to 12, 33%, 4 to 9 from 3, had 15 points. He did struggle in the first quarter initially, got going a little bit in the second and the third quarter. But I think overall with Chaz, I love how quick he can get that ball off. Like, he's got a very quick trigger. And again, it's like you got Duncan Robinson, you traded for Isaiah Joe, Kevin Huerter, Gary Harris, Chaz Lanier. Like, I don't even know if Gary Harris is making the roster, by the way. But you guys get my point. Like, there's so many damn shooting guards on this roster. Like, I saw a conversation about this on Twitter, and like, just kind of want to make the screen big for a minute. And like, I thought this was an interesting conversation. And the conversation was, how high of a percentage would Chaz have to shoot in training camp, in preseason, for JB Bickerstaff and the coaching staff to actually consider playing him rotational minutes? And I saw someone that I respect a lot, Laz Jackson, who's been on this podcast. He said 50%. I'm not even joking. And I think he's right. I think Chaz is just going to have to go out and have like a crazy preseason to the point where you have to actually force JB Bickerstaff to play you. But I liked what I've seen from Chaz so far in the summer league. I don't know if he's going to play in the next. It's like the last summer league game. I don't even know why they're playing it, but it's basically a bracket for all the teams that didn't make the playoffs. So you got one more game for that. But he's looked good. The 2 games previously, I thought he's looked good as well. Ebuka Okorie, again, had a rough shooting night, 5 out of 17 from the field, 29%, did have 16 points, kind of did his thing. I wouldn't really, if I'm a Piston fan, I wouldn't really be too overly concerned with the shooting performances because he is trying to be the number one option and organize everything out there. I think he's done a pretty good job getting really good prime real estate in the paint. Like he's able just to get into the painted area so easily. And I think if he plays with NBA players like a Cade Cunningham or an Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, who I still think will get re-signed, he'll be able to play with real NBA players, and then he's going to have snipers all around him. Like Chaz Lanier is his favorite target. Like he's going to have 3-point snipers all around him. Like he's going to be able to play with like um, Isaiah Joe, Kevin Herter, Danish Jenkins. He's going to be able to just kind of spray out passes to them. Like, yeah, the shooting performances are rough. 5 out of 17. I believe he shot 29% from the field his past 3 games. But, overall, a lot of those shots are very high difficulty shots, trying to finish over bigger front court players, wing players. I think he'll be okay. I really do, because you're not going to ask Ebuka Okorie to play 30 plus minutes a night in the NBA. Again, like I see some people saying, does he need to spend some time in the G League? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to spend any time in the G League. I do believe that Ebuka is going to be competing for the backup point guard spot. Some people think it's going to be Danish Jenkins. I think right now, I don't think it's anybody's spot. I think you have to have a training camp, you have to have preseason and evaluate. I'm not going to take too much stock in evaluation with Ebuka Okorie and his performances right now because he's doing it with a very bad roster surrounding him outside of Chaz Lanier, really. Like none of these guys are going to actually get rotational minutes or be on the active roster, I should say, with the Detroit Pistons upcoming season. But, overall, if we just kind of take a 30,000 foot view with like what his summer league has been so far, I think he's been okay. Steven Krall, obviously, has been like kind of the backup center for the Pistons. Scored a couple of points, grabbed some rebounds, did his thing. Drake Allen, 2 out of 4 from the field. He had 4 points as well. He's on an exhibit 10. I think defensively is what I've been impressed with him. Kind of want a little bit more or offensively, I should say. But, overall, I think he's been pretty good. Roddy Gayle Jr. actually missed his first shot. He was actually perfect, believe it or not, from the summer league, but he is kind of coming off injury. He did, get some other stats like rebounds and assists. I think he had 2 and 2, so kind of did his thing. Jaden Henley played 8 minutes. He had this one move and pass off to Isaac Jones that Isaac didn't finish, but he has some flashy moves. I think there's a lot there. I could definitely see him being a Motor City Cruise roster player. And then Latavius Mitchell only played about 4 minutes. He was 1 out of 3 from the field, where it was just kind of like a dunker spot, 2-point play for him. But overall, like with this game, obviously it was a loss, but you already knew Brice Williams is a bucket. He's going to score. You already know Isaac Jones likes to score. Chaz Lanier did have a game that he struggled. Ebuka Okorie had a game from the field that he struggled, but overall, I think what I'm taking away from this particular summer league game is you have to get out to better starts. You cannot let Phoenix be up as much as 15-2 within the first 5 minutes of this game. You just have to start these games better. Um, they beat you in the rebounding battle, 45-35. You were dead even with assists. You had one more steal, 10-9. They had more blocks, 6-3. You had only 13 turnovers to their 15. You shot 37.7% from the field, and that's because of the front court. They have a very huge front court with their summer league roster. Phoenix shot 51.5% from the field. You shot 31% from three to Phoenix's 32.1, and you made 81% of your free throws. Phoenix only made 56% of their free throws. But overall, you have to do a better job of starting these games a little bit quicker and more intentional, I would say. I think a lot of these summer league games, it doesn't feel like the team's asleep, but maybe they're not fully ready to be engaged, right? That's just what I'm seeing. Like when we're starting these um, summer league games, I would say the only game so far where I felt like they actually came out and they were the aggressor and they punched first was the Cleveland game. Outside of that, it's just been like very slow starts for this team. But I don't want to analyze a summer league roster too much because these guys have barely played with each other like less than 2 weeks. But before we do say goodbye to you guys, we have to hear from our sponsors over at the FanDuel Sportsbook. And with NBA futures out right now, we have the 2026-2027 NBA Eastern Conference first seed odds, with the New York Knicks being a odds-on favorite at plus 310, Boston Celtics at a plus 430, the Detroit Pistons at a plus 450, Cleveland Cavaliers at a plus 750, Philly 76ers at a 850, Toronto Raptors at a plus 950, Miami Heat at plus 1200, Orlando and Indiana at a plus 1,700, Atlanta Hawks plus 2,200, Charlotte Hornets plus 5,000, and Washington Wizards plus 17,500. But yeah, love to see the Pistons in those odds, being the third best odd team to win a number one seed. Again, that would actually be kind of crazy if they were the number one seed back-to-back years, but I don't really anticipate the Pistons being a number one seed. I still see them being in the top four of this Eastern Conference. But let me know what you guys thought of today's Summer League game against the Phoenix Suns. Ebuka Okorie's performance, Chaz Lanier's struggle from shooting a little bit. Obviously, it was a loss. You have one more game, 9 p.m. ESPN this Friday against Miami Heat. I'm not sure if you will see Ebuka Okorie, Chaz Lanier at all. Usually they like to, just be safe and, rest the players that are going to be active roster spots. You'll probably see more bench players that haven't had the opportunity to play as much. So, the front office can get a better look at them and possibly what they could offer. But I'll talk to you guys down below in the comment section. Like always, hope you guys are staying safe, staying cool. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.